Madam President, today I rise to support the confirmation of a fellow Coloradan, Tom Strickland, to be the next Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife and Parks for the Department of Interior. As Chairman of the National Park Subcommittee, I'm particularly pleased to support the nomination of Tom Strickland for Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife and Parks because he's had a long history of activism on behalf of protecting national and state parks. You'll excuse me for indulging in a bit of home state pride when I say how great it has been to see so many Coloradans going to work for the department in the federal government which has so much influence on the economic life of the West. And I have to tell you, Madam President, I think it also speaks highly of the motivational leadership of both Secretary Salazar and this nominee to be Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife and Parks, that so many of their fellow Coloradans have voluntarily left the best state in the Union to work here in Washington. Madam President, I know that Tom Strickland will be an excellent Assistant Secretary at the Department of Interior. He has an exceptional track record of leadership, both as an attorney, as a businessman, as a civic leader, and as someone who's dedicated to public service. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention his extraordinary wife, Beth, who's also inspirational in her own right. Before coming to Interior, Mr. Strickland worked in both the public and private sectors. He served as United States Attorney for the District of Colorado from 1999 through 2001, and he's been a partner at several law firms, including Hogan and Hartson in Colorado. As others have noted here this afternoon, from 1982 to 1984, he served as the Chief Policy Advisor for then Colorado Governor Richard D. Lamb, advising the governor on all policy and intergovernmental issues. And from 1985 to 1989, he served on and chaired the Colorado Transportation Commission. He graduated with honors from Louisiana State University, where he was an all-SEC academic football selection, and he received a JD with honors from the University of Texas School of Law. Madam President, I think it's clear I've known Tom Strickland over many years. Our work together has largely been in the public arena, where Tom, working with now Secretary Ken Salazar, but then Attorney General Salazar, led efforts in Colorado to pass the historic Great Outdoors Colorado program, which dedicates state lottery money to the acquisition of public lands for parks and open space and conservation. Tom's also a very accomplished outdoorsman, and while we haven't had the great opportunity to climb mountains together, particularly those of the 14,000-foot kind, we both have a love for the outdoors and the history of people and the landscapes of our West. And I know this love of our landscapes is what motivated Tom to be involved in public service in the first place and what sustained his 2 courageous runs for the United States Senate. Madam President, I was struck, as I often am, by a recent comment in a column authored by Tom Friedman. Tom Friedman reminded us of the value of inspirational leadership. He quoted Dov Seidman, the author of the book How, on what makes organizations sustainable. To quote Mr. Seidman, he wrote, "Laws tell you what you can do. Values inspire in you what you should do. And it's a leader's job to inspire in us those values." And I mention this because I know that as Assistant Secretary for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, Tom's job will demand both enforcement of important rules, regulations, and laws, and inspired and collaborative leadership. As one of the country's most successful attorneys, Tom will know how to enforce environmental laws. And as a man who draws inspiration from our mountains and plains and river courses, he also knows how to motivate and lead others. With Secretary Salazar at the helm, I know Tom Strickland will be a strong and effective partner. So, Madam President, as I conclude, I urge all of my colleagues to support Tom Strickland's confirmation this afternoon. No question, he will do us proud in this new role he is so eager to assume. Madam President, I yield the floor. President?
Yes, the senator from Colorado.
Madam President, I would ask unanimous consent that all debate time be yielded back and the Senate vote on the confirmation of the nomination of Thomas Strickland with all other provisions of the previous order remaining in effect.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered.
Madam President, I ask for the ayes and nays.
Is there a sufficient second? There appears to be. The clerk will call the roll on the nomination of Tom Strickland.